Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and thank you everyone for 6,000 subscribers. Today we are going to be starting back up our third season of our Gems of War Let's Play, where we essentially make a new account, play it 100% free to play, and basically go over all of the new player things that you need to do while progressing our own account in doing so. So that is exactly what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be going over all the essentials you'll need to know for right when you make a brand new account, as well as the Shegra fight, which is a somewhat hard fight when you're first starting out, generally because you don't really have that many options to use on it. So let's go over some of the basic first things you should do. First things first, settings. You can see here there are a bunch of settings under all these tabs. One thing you want to make sure you do pretty much right off the bat is click this, show spell and mana details. Make sure this is checked. When it is not checked, your troop mana will end up looking like these over here. You can see all of these do not have any kind of number. They're just a icon that represent what color they use. But if you have this enabled, you will be able to see that every single troop does indeed have a different mana cost. And this is pretty good information to know, not only what their mana cost is, but also how close they are to getting to full mana. So there's that. The next order of business will be to, I guess, take this tribute. Tribute is pretty irrelevant earlier on in the game. It does have it comes up every single hour. It has a chance of giving you extra rewards based on your tribute chance of every single kingdom. You can see what it is just by clicking on a kingdom. The more you have, the better you'll do. You'll notice one of our resources is gold. The biggest thing you want to do this on when you're first starting out is unlocking kingdoms and getting every single kingdom leveled to 3. This is really, really important to do, as it will increase the effectiveness of your tributes and how many you will actually receive. So definitely make sure to do that. Not to mention you'll need all the kingdoms anyways first starting out in order to unlock the banner. Every single time you unlock a troop, it will allow you to use a different banner on your team. For example, for this team right here, if we wanted to, we can go switch to like a green purple or whatever else we might have available. Though blue brown is actually the right color for that team. So, other things, that's what you should spend your gold on. Glory. Glory you mainly obtain through PvP. Where do you spend this glory? You spend this glory mainly on one thing, and that is under glory rewards underneath the shop, and whatever the current event troop is. This is always the best value that you can possibly do for your glory. Gives a wide range of resources, the most valuable of which are the arcane trait stones. Also, whatever troop happens to be available on the given week is a brand new troop. They do an event every Monday where new troops are entered into the game, and generally this content is pretty decent more often than not. So let's go into the Shegra fight. That's pretty much all the basics you'll realize. Oh, and gems. Never mind. No, can't forget the gems. I was just in the shop too. Gems. What should you spend your gems on? Gems, of course, are the premium currency in this game. And generally what you'll want to spend this on are the 2 500 gem armors, assuming that you're not buying the Death Knight armor. You would want to get both of those. If you feel like you're getting gems really slowly and you just want to get something as a placeholder, you would either get the Assassin armor or the Dwarven armor while you're waiting, and then upgrade into these two eventually. As far as which one of these two you do first is really on your own preference. Personally, I prefer going for the Dragon armor, not only because it's Dragon armor, but also because it gives you the more gold, and generally you'll be playing more in PvP than you will be in other related content. Though Celestial armor is definitely decent. You will be playing a lot of Arena early on in the game in order to get souls and other soul farming methods to level up your teams, because that's the main thing that souls are used for, is to actually level up your stuff. So, one last thing, you will want to join a guild if you haven't already. Even if you don't intend to actually play with others, you do just want to be in a random guild. So let's go just into this random one. It's now 21 out of 21. We'll just set ourselves in here. Looks like they just started, so we'll go help them. Generally, you don't stay in your starting guild for long. I'm probably only going to stay in it for a week or two, but you do it in order to get your footing into the game and just kind of get situated, and then you eventually go to a permanent guild, possibly, or just into any other better guild once you feel like you are ready. So, anyways, into the quest line. We're all the way through the Broken Spire quest, all the way down to the final Shegra fight. This is a pretty important fight, as this unlocks Arena, which is earlier on in the game the best method that you can possibly do for farming souls. And as I mentioned, souls are really important in order for you to be able to level up your troops. So we're going to be doing a team that uses all commons, all the starting stuff, except for Leshy. The reason I added Leshy is it has a really, really nice Entangle. Entangle is extremely important in this fight. fight. If you don't have Entangle, you'll need to use Attack Reduction. You do start off with a Warhound, which has the capability of doing Attack Reduction, but if you happen to have gotten a troop that can Entangle, you should probably slot that in instead. All of these are level 1, just to show that you don't even need any leveling on it. If we happen to lose this fight the first time, I will level up the Goblin, but it probably is not going to be necessary. You can also notice on here that he has 2 little upwards, like little triangle things. Triangles, I mean, what is that? V-shape? Let's just go with V-shape. These little symbols represent that he has a bonus on this given week, specifically a 20%. Each one of these represent a 10% bonus. I don't believe he's actually gaining any stats, because his stats are so low that 20% I don't believe is giving him anything. But this is represented under the events. There's a bunch of different event things every single week where you gain either a very small trivial amount of stats, or things like new legends, stuff like that coming out, and of course the event objectives that you can do, which end up giving you some pretty nice resources if you do go out of your way to do them. This week it is kill a bunch of goblins, so if we were to do that, we would gain a pretty competent amount of resources that we could allocate towards specific things. But anyways, let's go into the quest line, go defeat the Shegra, and go on from there. So the first Shegra fight, and the main thing that's really annoying about this fight is it can wipe you very, very easily. Shegra does a lot of damage based on the skulls, and it can start stacking up very, very, very quick due to the fact that it converts all reds to skulls and even creates more reds onto the board, which will just make a whole plethora of damage that you'll have to deal with. So right off the bat, I do want to start taking some brown, start getting that Leshy. We are of course using a +1 blue, +1 brown banner. This is really important, mainly because of the hero sword, or the sword of heroes, I mean. If you have a +1 on it, taking any blue pair will completely fill it. And with the Leshy that we decided to use also, this will get him up in 2 turns, regardless of if we surge. One thing to note is mana surge. Earlier on in the game, it isn't really something you have to worry about, but there is a % chance every single time you take a 3 or 4 pair that you will end up getting a mana surge. What a mana surge does is it increases the amount of mana that you get. So if you surge on a 3 times, it increases up to 6. If you do it on a 4 times, it increases up to 8. One thing to note though is any bonuses that you have get calculated after the fact. So for example, we have a +1 brown. If we get a surge on a 3, that will not give us 8 mana, it will give us 7, because it gives us 3, then the extra 3 from the surge for 6, and then the +1 that we have from our banner for the 7 total. So right here, we're going for the brown. This will give us the capability to Entangle. I'm going to go for the kill here, just to make sure we don't have to deal with that. Shegra is getting pretty close to his ability, so we are going to Entangle. That will also give us our Goblin to be able to cast. He is now telling us about the Entangle, because we actually have been entangled for the first time. I haven't actually bothered using a Leshy. We were lucky enough to get a Vinoxia during the stream on this. I have been using that. I obviously didn't want to use it in this battle, mainly because that would be just a little bit too strong. The fact that we actually got lucky enough to already have a legend on this account, which is pretty nice. But anyways, Entangle, I didn't really explain Entangle that well, but Entangle, essentially what it does is every single stats effect in Gems of War has a 10% cumulative chance that it will cleanse. And this will, so for example, the first turn has a 10% chance that it will be cleansed, then 20, then 30, then 40, then 50. Each one of these stats effects, of course, do a different thing. With Entangle, what it does, as you can see, is it reduces, for the duration of the Entangle, it reduces all Entangled troops by all the way down to 0 for the duration. One other thing to note about this is you cannot lose or gain attack while in this. So if you, for example, just use a standard attack buff, like after this battle we're going to gain a troop, an epic troop that allows us to do an attack buff. If we were entangled, we would not actually obtain that attack buff that he does. So right here, generally with extra turn spells, you want to throw them down immediately. One of the reasons for having Goblin in the particular team that we're using right now is to make sure that we can focus Shegra. You notice right there, he does almost no damage, even though he hit us with many skulls. The reason for this, of course, is because he is entangled, so he won't be able to do as much. Unfortunately, so are we. So similarly, we will not be able to do as much as well, but we'll be able to keep poking on the Shegra with our Goblin and kind of just working it down from there. We can also just go straight for the kill right now, which seems pretty nice. We'll just throw another poke. Of course, we can't use that skull. You do hit through skulls slightly with criticals. A 4x critical, because there's no like mana surges or anything on skulls, when you hit a 4x, it will do 1 additional damage, and when you hit a 5x, it does 2 additional damage, and that's why we ended up getting a 2. It does hit through Entangle, and it does hit through you having a 0 attack, because similarly, like how the mana surge applies its bonus after the fact, I mean the bonus applies after the fact, so does the same thing happens when you apply the skull. So 4x, it does the +1 after, so even if you're entangled at a 0, it'll still do that small amount of damage. So right there, we'll go for the kill. We unfortunately did not cleanse off the ability. What do we do here? I guess we just leave that skull there. So we'll go and get that, get our goblin up, just keep poking at that Shegra to make sure it eventually goes down. Get a few more browns as well. This will help to make sure that we will be able to get our Leshy down again. Of course, if you don't have a Leshy, as I mentioned earlier, you can use Warhound and do a similar concept to this. Another thing that you can do if you want, if you just kind of want to completely ignore attack reduction, is add another troop that has single target, similar to that of Goblin, or really just any single target troop, and focus down the Shegra. Shegra is basically the only threat on the enemy team in the battle that we're in right now. Once you kill the Shegra, you essentially win the battle. The problem is, prior to killing the Shegra, it can be very, very annoying. One fun thing about Baby Dragon is that you can form into any dragon in the game. Of course, we do get the absolute worst thing that it can transform into, but it's kind of a fun thing to mess around with early on in the game. It's not really that viable of a troop. But 2 teams that you do want to generally focus on are either an all-Goblin team or an all-Dragon team when you're first starting out. And you can use the Goblin or the Dragon that you start off with to form into one of those teams. Personally, I'm going to be forming into a all-Goblin team for the main reason of this week, actually, that we're starting this account. Ended up entering with a really, really strong Goblin troop that we should be able to get by the end of the week through the Glory Pack. So I figured we'd be able to get that and kind of work from there. But yeah, it's really your own discretion if you want to build into one of those 2. They're, from my knowledge, the 2 strongest kind of builds that you can currently make as of this current moment in time when first starting out in the game. So they're definitely worth considering. Goblins, what makes them so strong is the fact that they have so many extra turns. They're really hard to misuse, and it's a good way to kind of get started. The reason Dragons are so strong is mainly because of Dragotar and Dragon Soul. Dragotar, actually a few of them. Dragonian Monk is really good early game for casting a bunch of barriers, which essentially protect you against 1 instance of damage. Dragotar is good because it gives you a really high stat gain, only if you're using dragons, but of course if you're using a full dragon team, then it will give it to you. And Dragon Soul, if you happen to get lucky enough to get it, is arguably the strongest card in the entire game prior to about level 150 or 200, mainly because it has an extremely high amount of damage that it can do regardless of what level you are at or what level the Shegra is at or any other factors. And as I mentioned, at the end of every single quest line, you do end up getting a epic troop. This applies to every single kingdom. As you can see, we end up getting Luther for completing out Broken Spire. The main ones that have decent epics, actually there's really only one for the most part, I'd have to say, is Zulkiri. There are a few other options that kind of have okay epics, but Zulkiri is about the only one you really have to do, particularly for an epic. The main reason for this is you end up getting Tyree. Tyree is a troop that allows you to farm maps. Maps allow you to do the treasure hunt minigame, which we actually have 0 maps right now, so we can't actually show that. So anyways, I believe that is pretty much everything for the new, or for this new account. Just kind of wanted to get it started. He is, of course, showing us the new arena right now. This was the mode I was referring to earlier. This is where you go to farm up basically all the souls that you'll be accumulating for the foreseeable future when you're first starting out, particularly as a free-to-play player. It gives pretty good value, even though it shows an icon of a gold key here. It does indeed give you glory keys, which are decent, so that's a nice way to get at least some keys kind of built up, because as you can see right now, or at least from our list, we have almost no troops right now, so that's a great way to kind of just get started a little bit. Gives you a really high amount of souls compared to other things this early in the game. Every other reward is pretty much irrelevant that it gives, though, and it only costs 1,000 each time to be able to play. We're actually a little bit gold short. That's one other thing to mention. If you're ever low on gold for whatever reason, PvP is the absolute best way to kind of go around that. We can go show the normal team that we've kind of just been messing around before we ended out, and then we can go based on that. So this is a random team that I kind of put together based on what we currently have. Of course, we have very few options, so the team is definitely way, way below any kind kind of optimal stuff that we should be using. I believe I also have everything still at level 1, if I'm not mistaken, mainly because I haven't bothered allocating souls into anything, mainly because I don't want to waste my souls. So we'll just go through this battle, see if we actually don't lose. It is quite a bit higher stats, or not really that much higher, but relative to how weak our team is, it has a decent amount higher stats. So hopefully we'll be able to get through. It does seem to have a backshot troop, which is a little unfortunate for us, because one early game mistake that you can really make is not having enough of a backline tank. This normally isn't that relevant later in the game, but when you're first starting out, you don't always want to put your absolute weakest troop in your last slot. Surprisingly, the strongest spot that you can ever put a troop in Gems of War is the 3rd spot, at least based on what currently exists in the game. The main reason for this is skulls will keep piling on your 1st slot and eventually reach your 2nd, and there are troops and weapons that can hit your last slot. So generally the 3rd slot is the best way to go. If you have something very weak that you want to make sure it stays alive, put it in 3rd slot. It's the best chance that it will have. So we'll go and throw this. Please, Dragon Soul. That'd be amazing if we do, because Vinoxia actually does count as a dragon. This was the legend I was referring to earlier. It's one of the worst legends in the game, but at least for earlier on in the game, for our purposes, it will be able to work at least somewhat okay. We did just get a really big hit right there. There is a possibility that we will end up losing. That would be slightly disappointing, but it will happen. This is mainly just a sign that we need to be playing Arena. If you ever find that you lose way too much in PvP, like we are probably going to be doing right now, the easiest way to kind of get yourself back into the groove of things is to play Arena and Treasure Hunt. Treasure Hunt gives you 0 EXP while still giving you a lot of resources, and an Arena gives you the best amount of souls that you can gain earlier on in the game at this state. So those are generally the 2 things you want to do. One thing I didn't really mention or go over too heavily is why is level actually good at keeping low. The main reason you want to keep a relatively low level is both Arena and PvP, when you or throughout the entire game, but it's particularly noticeable earlier on in the game, is the lower your level, the easier your opponents will be. So you do want to keep generally a pretty low level if you can, for as long as possible. It will just help out quite a bit with everything that you try to do, and will allow you to grind a bit more, particularly as a free-to-play player. It's a pretty good strategy to do, just to keep your level low. So definitely make sure to consider it. Let's see, can we get any other moves down on the board here? Doesn't look like it. Also, why did I end up joining the guild? I don't think I really clarified that much either. You end up getting resources from your guild whenever anyone in the entire guild, regardless of if you contributed to it or not, completes a task. They will end up giving you the reward for the task, so you can end up accumulating rewards basically for free without even doing anything. As you can see right there, he poisoned us. What poison does is it's the only stats effect in the entire game that doesn't naturally cleanse off. It has a 50% chance every single turn to deal 1 true damage, which essentially just means we lose 1 HP. And this can cause lethal, so it is a possibility that he will kill us right now next turn. And what's a little bit annoying about that is we kind of need him alive right about now. So that is a bit unfortunate that that can happen right here. It is also very close to us just plain out dying at this point. I really want to take those skulls, but I don't believe I'll go for it. It really depends, because I know if we get the X shape off of the Dragonian Monk, we'll probably be able to get more damage off that way, but I am going to go for the skull. He will indeed die, so good thing I didn't go for that. He was just going to die anyway, so unfortunately it does look like we shall be defeated on our very first battle. One of the main things I'm going to be doing first on this account, which is basically what I'll be doing after this video and probably for the next video, is farming up Arena. We won't be showing that in this particular first one, mainly because it takes a while. It takes about anywhere from 20 minutes to about an hour to do a arena run. So as you can see, if you're losing like that, then it's definitely a good sign that you need to go do that. Though if you are losing on your 2 trophy, you can just go down to 1 trophy. And similarly, if you're losing on your 3 trophy, you can go down to your 2 trophy. And then if you're even losing on that, then go to your 1 trophy like that. So let's actually get a win. I don't want to leave on a lose. We can't do that. We can't leave our first video on a lose. That just can't happen. Let's see. Okay, well, we'll go take some browns, start getting that up a bit. There's so many good things we can synergize with this troop that are actually low rarity. The only problem is even those low rarity ones we don't even have as of yet, which is the importance of getting keys. You can spend, one thing to note is you can spend your gold for gold keys if you want. These drops come in rares, and when you're first starting out, like where we're at right now, it is a good idea to consider them. If you have some spare, like as you're like unlocking the kingdoms and stuff, you will get quite a few spare resources just from doing a lot of PvP and stuff like that. So it's definitely a place to consider. You don't really want to contribute to guilds when you're first starting out. You mainly just want to start accumulating your gold keys and getting all of your kingdoms unlocked in level to level 3. But you can throw them on gold keys. They do have resources in them like gems, glory, and stuff like that as well. So that's pretty helpful. We'll go throw down the little hero sword there. Get a nice little poke in. Keep chipping it down lower and lower. Of course, we keep getting that sword up instantly because we have the +1 on brown. Definitely a really, really good idea to make sure you have that +1 on your keep ability. Right there, I was trying to go for a purple surge. Obviously, your purple surge chance is so low. I keep forgetting that on a new account. I'm so used to having it higher and playing such. But yeah, ideally we'd be full mana on that and be able to go and get that little poke in. But it appears we will not be able to do that. Then again, you know what? Let's still go for it. We'll go take the... Which one should we go for? We'll go for the green right here. That'll give us a nice Vinaxia cast. Vinaxia has 4 true damage to all enemies, and that's static regardless of its level. Also, the dragon, the baby dragon is transformed into an egg. Yeah. It's something pretty funny that can happen. A baby dragon can no longer form into another baby dragon, but it can, like, go in reverse and go into an egg. Yeah, it's kind of odd. Let's see if our dragon does that. Let's see. A double egg? No, we got a Shegra. Hey, we just did the Shegra battle. That's kind of funny. That actually works out perfectly. Let's see if we can get a Shegra cast. That's really funny. The Shegra that is from the, of course, the first kingdom. Yeah, let's actually see if we can get a Shegra off real quick. It won't really hurt to go do so. And that will pretty much be matched the second we do. Doesn't look like we really have the mana on board. Go take the red. Come on, one more, one more. Need a little bit more mana. Perfect. There we go. Oh, wait, never mind. We still need slightly more. Let's take that brown then. Keep the red on the board. He'll summon a baby dragon. Can we split shot kill that? No. Let's just Shegra. Hopefully it doesn't miss. Nope. And we do get the poke. So we'll get the poke. Still not enough to win, surprisingly. So we'll throw that. And 1 little damage. So we'll just Vinaxia that, I guess. Doesn't really matter. Any way that we would have done that would have gotten the kill. And down he goes. So, there we go. Let's go and maybe open 1 gem, or not 1 gem key, but as many gold keys as we can possibly do, which is only 1, so okay, maybe I was right. So we have these 2, and then we'll just do the additional one. Only a trait stone. Trait stones are used for traits. That's something we'll explain much later on. When you're first starting out, you can basically just ignore them. And we got Taurus, which is a much inferior version of a goblin. We will never be using that ever. Whenever we do key openings on this account, I will be making sure to go over every troop we get and kind of explaining if it is or is not worth it. Taurus is definitely not worth using in any situation ever. It is never used. Any other troop is literally better. So don't bother with that. Anyways, that'll wrap it up for this first video. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below, and I'll definitely make sure to answer all of them. Please make sure to leave a like if you enjoy the series. We will be continuing this for, I have no clue how long. Generally, we run these for about a month or 2 whenever we start another one, so I figured that we'll go probably about that far. We will definitely be going all the way up to Soulforge and all that kind of stuff. Probably will end up ending this account by the time it reaches about level 150, because by the time you start reaching that range, it starts heading more into the mid-game, and this series is mainly to help out newer players and everything like that. My normal videos are meant for everyone else. It's just this account helps me to be able to show the gap that I'm normally not able to show on my main account that has literally everything. So that is the purpose of this. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.